Welcome to Life Her Podcast, the podcast that guides you from the 9-to-5 grind to the freedom of your own path. Discover how to conquer life's challenges while pursuing your passions with unwavering faith. Because being an entrepreneur is not easy. So let's get to it.
Hey everyone, I'm Yvette Lloyd, host of Life Her Podcast. We are here with another episode and we have an amazing guest today. I have an honor of speaking with an incredible woman who is dedicated to helping others reach their highest potential. Ebony Hill is a 5-time published author, master life and relationship coach, ordained minister, motivational speaker, podcaster, and community activist. With over 20 years of experience in corporation training, human resources, and specialized in empowering women in life, love, relationships, self-love, and self-care. And we know we all need that. Ebony's personal journey is extremely inspiring. She's married with a Boaz, and we all need a Boaz, okay? At 45, and is now celebrating 8 years of love and partnership. Through her book, Like How I Went from 45 and Single to 45 and Married, and the 21-day Power Journal. She has helped countless women transfer their lives and relationships. Today, she's here to share her wisdom, experiences, encouragement with us. Ebony, welcome to Life Her Podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so honored to be here.
Thank you. I really appreciate you being on here, especially having this conversation, because even though we talk a lot about business, what caught my attention is you were saying like love and partnership, marriage and partnership. And a lot of times people don't realize marriage do fall into partnership because it helps you elevate in life, and you have to have that compatible person that matches you, like you said, your Boaz. So I really love this, and I love everything that you do.
Thank you so much. And I am truly blessed to be here. I've watched you from afar do so many amazing things. So this is quite the treat to meet you and to just have the opportunity to share on your platform. So thank you so much.
Thank you. So we are about to get into it, girl.
Okay.
So Ebony, again, welcome to the show. Can you share a bit about your journey and what led you to become a master life and relationship coach?
Yeah, so it's so funny because when we look back over our lives, right, like the elders say, and I go back all the way to kindergarten. So my maiden name is Williams. So, I'm a W at the end of the alphabet. And I remember in kindergarten when the teacher changed our seats around like halfway through the year. And she put me with a group of children that were kind of misfits. Today, we'll say they were probably special needs kids. I didn't know that at the time, right? But it was a boy that ate his pencil, right? He chewed on his pencil. He probably had some nervous issues. Today, we could diagnose him, right? There was a girl that was maybe a little more delayed, right? There was someone that, she used to wet herself, and all these things. Well, 5-year-old Ebony is interviewing these people. Okay. I'm trying to understand, why do you bite your pencil? So I'm biting the pencil too. I'm talking to the girl. I'm like, well, why won't you just go to the bathroom? And the other girl, I'm trying to relate, connect with people. And I laugh now because it wasn't like a thing to ostracize them, but I was really trying to understand, like, what makes you tick? What makes you move the way you move? Like, even in like kindergarten, right? And my aunt told me that even as a girl, like I never met a person that I didn't know. And I think that's just always been like my innate just desire to connect with people, to get to know people, like what makes you tick, and realizing even at an early age that we don't have to be the same. It's okay that everybody has their own nuances, their own idiosyncrasies. It's like, this is who we are, right, as people, but really trying to come from a place of understanding. So when I look at my life and different phases of my life, I've always been her. Right. So when we get like certified and we go get different credentials, there's a portion of us that's been doing this work the whole time. So when I got certified as a coach and started actually coaching, it stemmed from me writing my book, my first book, how I went from 45 and single to 45 and married, doing relationship coaching, helping people with their dating lives, and then quickly discovering that a lot of folks need a little bit more than dating advice, right? There's some personal things that we need to get together, which I discovered from myself through my journey, being a seasoned bride, right? I don't say older, I say seasoned. Okay. I was 45 when we got married, but there was so much time I had to work on me. So coaching again, I had relationship coaches, I had dating coaches, a couple that I know and love dearly, worked with me, and I believe that was a game changer for me. Having someone like help me like hone in on the areas that I needed to maybe reevaluate. It wasn't that I was broken or that I was anything wrong with me, but there were some areas I needed to grow in, some things I needed to change. It didn't kill me. But again, just kind of loving the process, kind of always being in this space. And then ultimately from coaching, the desire to want to train other coaches. And that's where the Master Life Coaching certification came in. So now with our business, Hilltastic Coaching, we certify life coaches as well. Again, I'm just kind of like full circle with this process, but it is needed. Coaching is needed and necessary, especially in our community.
Definitely is. I have to agree with you with that. You know, coaching is really good, especially when a person have been through that walk of life. And a lot of times it's good to be led with someone that actually experienced whatever they're coaching in, and then
Mhm.
someone will connect with them. So
Yeah.
that's amazing. I'm glad that you are doing this because Lord knows, especially now today, man, folks crashing out.
And it's again, it's kind of like the stigma that, in our community, I think people are finally starting to say, hey, I need to talk to somebody. And so whether
Yeah.
you decide to go counseling or therapy, that's up to the individual. But coaching is like, we're really here to just help you reach your goals. So you're like, yo, this is what I'm working on, whether it be a couple, a married couple, and they're like, we're in a tough spot. Can you guys help us out? I say, you guys, my husband and I both run Hilltastic Coaching and consulting, but it's such a pleasure. And I do work with individuals one-on-one as well. But it's such a pleasure to have somebody say, thank you so much for your help. Thank you for understanding. Thank you for listening, right? Thank you for just taking the
Mhm.
time to care about my life and my situation. It's such a rewarding space to be in. Truly
Man,
is. Yeah.
I bet. So you've written multiple books that help people grow personally
Mhm.
and in their relationships. What inspired you to actually write them and actually take that leap?
Yeah. Oh my goodness. So I'll start again with the first book. So I wrote a book and a workbook on how I went from 45 and single to 45 and married because I've learned so much, sis. Oh my goodness. And so when I met my husband, I was just like, I still have a lot of information. Like, I put in some time, energy, and effort. Okay.
I
I've
bet.
met so many guys, like, online dating, in person. Oh, I mean, like, I lost count, like, literally over 100. Right. So I didn't meet them all in person because some people just online, you're trying to get a vibe, make a connection. But there's so many different type of men out here. And I was like, listen, I'm just looking for something kind of simple, which I thought was simple. When it really boiled down, I was like, I just want someone who is who he says he is.
Yeah.
I thought that was a small ask. Oh my goodness. Honey, that was the $100 million question. I was just like, what? If you work at the post office, just tell me you work at the post office. Like, I'm cool with that. Like, I don't need six figures and all that. We can do that together, right? But the men are not honest, like literally just lying for no reason. So for me, I was really looking for a character, like who this man is. Like, can I trust you? again, being a more seasoned when I married, I was a full grown woman out here. Okay. I knew how to
Mhm.
take care of myself. So I didn't want to partner with anyone who was a jive turkey. Okay. And I
Mhm.
knew that wasn't going to work for me and my personality. Like, I need to be able to trust you, I need to be able to flow. I love peace and calm. Honey, I am not a drama person at all. So I just want to be, in sync and in flow. And I didn't think it would be that tough. So from my journey, I learned so much.
That
And
is
with my husband and I, with our story, we met and married in 5 months.
what?
5 months. And it would have been sooner than that, but we knew from the beginning. We both knew. And it happened so fast, but the time was put in ahead of time. So
Mm.
even when I was dating, sis, I made a vow to God that I would not share my body with another man until I was married. I had no clue. Hear me. I had no clue that would be 10 and a half years later.
What? That is
So
amazing.
I was out here dating, but I was not doing the do. I say no diggity, no doubt. I was not, so that dating process was so different for me. But when I
Mhm.
tell you my discernment was woo, I could see by the way, the first couple of lines, I could tell what kind of guy he was. So I really feel like I put the time in. Um, I refined the process for me. And so I had all this knowledge and all this experience, and I'm like, I have to share it. Like
Yeah.
my husband and I, we're clicking, we're good, but I'm like, I still have good instincts. I still have good information. So that was really the catalyst. And then also understanding how blessed I truly am. It's like, how can you be so blessed and keep it for yourself? So that's was the motivation to encourage my sisters that it's not too late if you're still looking for love. It's not too late. You get to decide your story, not the world. Who are they anyway when they say all these things? Who are they? But they weren't going to write my story. So that was really the catalyst for me to start to share, because I wanted to help somebody else, because I know whoo, how difficult that space can be.
You know what's so crazy? I really admire you just even sharing this. Um, I've always tell women how important it is to face self.
Yes.
And when it comes to actually facing yourself, that means celibate. Like
Mhm.
not have sex, because I don't think women understands the depth of you giving your body to a man, and the soul ties that you will accumulate. It isn't just his soul tie, it's the ties that you had from the men that you were with previously before him, and the women, no telling what women he's currently with or have been with,
Right.
uh, from the past. And a lot of times we accumulate these different types of emotions and feelings and everything once that sex end up coming involved into the
Mhm.
relationship. All morals, everything usually go out the window. And when it comes to you actually getting to know someone, I notice people really don't ask the important questions.
Ooh.
The important questions is the future. Like
Yes.
you can't do the basic steps in the beginning of a conversation. You have to lay it all out on the line. You got to ask people, how is they are they financially stable? Are they mentally stable? Do they have any other personal issues that they're dealing with that they're trying to heal from? What are your triggers?
Yeah.
Like, what do you love doing in the household? Do you like cooking? Do you like cleaning? Just getting deep into it. And I think that's where a lot of things be missed at, because a lot of people do a lot of texting getting to know a person
Hmm.
instead of
Hmm.
actually being personal in person, getting
Yes.
to know a person and taking time out every day to interact with each other and get to know each other. And that's when you know if you with your person, because I see a lot
Mhm.
of people, they really just waste time, waste years, months, or whatever on a man or a woman that really isn't compatible for them, and they just comfortable.
Yeah. I agree. So the subtitle to my book is The 13 Secrets That Changed My Life. So each chapter I share a secret. The first chapter is be honest with yourself.
Yes.
Be honest with yourself about what you want, why you want to be married. I've talked to married people, hear me, people that have been married for years, and they've told me, I've never asked myself why I wanted to be married.
Oh,
You hear me? So it's like, again, that transparency with yourself first, right? Like you
yeah.
said, facing yourself, like really coming down, like boiling it down. What is it that I want? And going back to the whole being abstinent, again, when I made that commitment to God, I did not know it would take that long. However, the ability to see clearly, like right when, like you said, not talking about the important things. Well, the important things were the things I wanted to talk about because I wasn't chasing the bedroom. Where before you might throw caution to the wind because you like him, he like you. So
Yeah.
really getting to the place of, you know what, that's important in a relationship, but it is not the primary thing for me. Like, I want to know who you are. I want to know what makes you tick. And I believe, again, that's why it didn't take long for my husband and I to connect, because we had both cleared our spaces. Right,
Mm.
his journey is different than mine, of course, but for me, I was ready. There was those soul ties had been handled. I
Mm.
wasn't dreaming about Mr. So and so or wondering if I made the right decision. I knew even before I met him, I knew that once the right one came, that he would shine. It would be like undeniable. And that's exactly what happened. Like, it's truly a story. And I don't know how other people talk to the Lord, but I was like, look, God, don't have me out here looking crazy. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to be 80 years old out here. Like, I'm still waiting on I don't want to be her. Okay. But I
Mhm.
also didn't want to be like reckless. So I really had time to get to know me and figure
Yes.
me out. And then it was very easy because the guy was either a yes or a no. And it was a whole lot more no's. A whole lot. I kissed a lot of frogs along the way. Okay. But I'm grateful for the journey. So grateful for the journey because I don't have a question about did I make the right decision.
Yes. And it's so crazy because when we do that self-care and
Mhm,
self-love for so long, we
mhm.
get to know new parts of us that we didn't even know that existed.
Yes. Yes.
And facing that takes a lot of accountability because you'd be like, "Oh, we girl, you was toxic." You like, oh,
Beautiful.
you got some issues. You need to work on this. And in the time of me doing that for my personal self,
Yes.
I realized where I lacked on a lot of things, and I really needed to get to know myself because sometimes your reflection is someone else's reflection, and
Mhm.
it can happen unconsciously, you
Yes.
know. But when that time with yourself, getting to know you, and actually just going with the flow of things with you and God, you will find out that you are such an amazing woman inside and out in so many ways that nobody can't even tell you if you are or not, you know?
Mhm.
Because
Come on.
sometimes that validation come in and we need to hear it from a man
Yeah.
or hear it from a woman. But when you start knowing it yourself, you walk different. You
Yes.
think different.
100%.
Everything is different. So it's really like you really not telling me nothing that I don't know in the humblest way, but at the same time, what else do you have for me? Okay.
Okay. I love that. And it's so true because that self-validation, they say, right? What do the statistics say that the messages we hear from our own mouth, right? Us
Yes.
hearing our own voice from our lips to our ears is the most valuable message. So, I can say, okay, I think I look good today. You'd be like, hey, girl, I call myself sis. I don't know about anybody else, but I'll be like, hey,
Yes.
sis, I feel like you're doing it. But if I tell myself that, I don't need to hear from somebody else because I've already validated myself and I believe that thing. But in contrast, if I'd be like, girl, what do you have on? Nobody can validate me and tell me I look good if I've already told myself I don't, right?
Yes.
So knowing who we are. And again, when I look back, I don't think if I had married any earlier, I don't know that I would have made it. I don't know if I would have been ready. And so being honest with myself, I always wanted a peaceful, loving, genuine marriage, right? I wanted that real thing. I did not want to be half stepping, perpetrating. I did not want an Instagram relationship. Okay. I wanted a real, authentic thing. And so then for me, I was willing to wait. So then when I was honest with myself, being married to the right man was more important to me than having children. Now, hear me. I was 45 when we got married. So I had already, come to grips with the biological route.
Right.
Probably wasn't going to happen for me. I always left a little caveat that if my husband wanted children, we would talk about it. Well, his two were in their 20s when we married. And I looked at him and he was like, I'm good. And I was like, well, all right, me too. It didn't mean that I never wanted children. Of course I did. But that wasn't my story, right? I didn't want to be a mom and not be married. So I was like, I want to be married, raise my children together. We talked about adoption or fostering, and we have the conversation, but we're not like, if it, it's not a number one thing for us. Like we have our business, we serve in the community, we have a lot of touches with a lot of people. And so for me, I had made that decision before I met him that it may not happen and had already gone through that process on my own, facing yourself, right? Understanding that, Ebony, you're still a valuable person, even if you don't have biological children. Like I went on that journey before I met him, right?
That's good.
With the understanding that it might change, but that's a big one for women. And other women can really sabotage you. We talk about valuing and validating yourself. It's a whole nother podcast to talk about the way women have approached me. Like, you don't have kids. When I go, what's wrong with you?
Oh
Excuse
God.
me.
I get it all the time. I get it all the time.
Women. I was like, if I was really like devastated over this topic, I would be a mess. I mean, and it's almost like an attack
It is.
on
It is
your womanhood. Yeah.
Mhm.
So I think that there's so much growth that needs to happen around that. But I said, you know what? I'm not going to let somebody else's ignorance determine the type of woman I am. But that's where that self-talk comes back in. It's like, I'm a fabulous person. All right.
Right.
And I'm doing amazing things with my life. And that's not the only way for me to show that I've existed on the planet. Right.
Yeah.
So again, the world will tell you all these things.
They
But when
will.
you're honest with yourself about who you are and what you want, you get to this place where you're unshakable. Life is going to happen. But at the core, I know who I am.
Yes. And it's so crazy because I'm 41 and people are like, you don't got no kids. Why you don't got kids? And and a lot of times people just come off so disrespectful when it comes to that. And they be like, what's wrong with you? You can't. I've even had a close friend tell a young child, which was my friend's daughter. She had to been in middle school by then. She was in middle school. One of my close friends told her that's why she can't have kids, referring to me. She told a child this. And it's so crazy because I've never would have known that one of my close friends felt that way during the midst of all that. But
Yeah.
it's like, it's not that I can't have kids, I can. You know what I'm saying? It's God's timing. It's other things, that may be for me, But as
Yes.
far as I see, I got plenty of kids. I got nieces, nephews, cousins,
Yeah.
all of that
That's
too.
right.
But
And
people don't
it's
think
so
about that.
sad though. It's so sad. And can I have a keeping it real moment? Am I allowed
Oh,
to?
do all the time. Go ahead, girl.
I'm gonna go there for a hot second, but I'm gonna come back. All right.
Okay.
People will counsel you out of their mistakes.
All the time.
We're not gonna make your oops be the normal, right?
Yeah.
We're not gonna normalize your errors because if we're honest, A lot of children weren't planned. So it's like, how dare you? Because I have a plan for my life, because I've chosen to take birth. I've chosen to protect myself and take birth control when I was sexually active, and to be abstinent for many years in my adult life. I'm like, and if I did need IVF, I mean, that's what those treatments are here for. But it's not, a lot of people go those, you know what I'm saying? It's like
Right.
there's not one way. And just to
People
think that
just
your
feel.
way, which may have been a lot of oopsies,
Mm-hmm.
that's not the standard,
Yeah.
but again, we haven't had those conversations out loud. A lot of people still, again, identify in the roles that we play versus having that true love for self and just saying, I'm okay as is. And so, again, I would take nothing from my journey. I'm so grateful now, even being in my 50s now, right? I am so grateful that my story turned out the way it did. And I can show up now in this, women's empowerment space, in this dating space, in this marriage space. I'm a bonus mom. I have two beautiful daughters that came in with my marriage, right? Daughters by love. And to even like watch their process. You know, my husband was married twice before me. He says I'm his third marriage, but his first wife, right?
Okay.
So these girls were ladies, women, excuse me, because they're grown out here now. They were already adults when I met them. So even like just even figuring out that space, right? In my mind, it would have been like this, and this, because I'm an auntie to my core. You hear me? I am auntie.
Mhm. To the
Um,
end.
but also just allowing our relationships to evolve the way they need to, and not put these labels or force it. It's a different space to be in when you're a bonus mom, a bonus, because they have a stepmom, that raised them. But just be respectful, and honor the process, and that everybody's family looks different. You know
Yes.
what I mean? And it's okay.
It
I'm
is
telling you, I have
completely
made some major changes in my life. I worked for local government for 22 years. Of course, I worked prior to that. But in 2022, since I liberated myself from that employment, and I never thought, I thought I was a lifer at 22 years. But as things change, I was 50 when I left. It was a month before I turned 51. And I was like, I gotta get out of here. Like I knew that though for a while. That wasn't a knee jerk thing. But if I was not married, I don't know that I would have taken the leap, honestly. I'm gonna be honest.
mm,
But because I was, and we were solid in our marriage, and I'd share with my husband before, we've been talking about it along the way. And he was like, baby, you can do it. He said, if anybody can do this thing and run this business, he said, you can do it. He said, I have faith in you. And I was like, thank you. Because, I have faith in me too. Okay. But I
right.
appreciated that support and even the time to grow our business and become this entrepreneur. And I'm like, hey, if it comes down to it, I'll babysit. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
I'll do whatever, but the freedom of even being out from under the 9 to 5 and that corporate, that structure, that mindset of the job and being there for so long, it was a whole nother rebirth, if you will, of me, this evolution of Ebony, if you will, right? So these different phases of my life where I've made decisions, I've kind of walked a little differently, or did what people may be afraid of doing, but it was my story. Even being abstinent, you would have thought I was walking on the yellow brick road the way people acted. I'm like, just stop doing it. You know what
I
I mean? Like,
know. Oh
God
my
kept
God,
me.
I can't
God
do it.
kept me. God kept me during that time. So I need to be kept. You understand? I need to be kept. But once I made that promise, and I was like, I'm not gonna backslide. Not for my story. I have too much to do, but always knowing that I'm doing it for me, and I'm doing it to tell the story. Right. And I'm not going to have a false testimony. Whatever. I saw her with so and so. No, you didn't. Not me. I wouldn't say it if it wasn't true, because that's not who I am. But there's so many of us that are the carriers of the light, right? We're the light workers. I've known that my whole life. It's not just about me. It's about me, but it's not just about me, right? So I have to do my part so I can help open up the door, or pass that little spark to another sister so that she can go ahead and pass it on to another, and so forth and so forth. We're all connected, right? We're in this thing together. So it's about me, but now what am I going to do with that story? How do I continue on from there? I just firmly believe that we all have a part to play in this thing we call life.
Yes, we got a huge part to play. So speaking on the part to play in life,
Yeah,
in 21 Day Power Journal, you encourage self-reflection and goal setting. How does the journaling play a role in personal transformation?
absolutely. So for those 21 days, each day there's a quote, right? If you will, it's a affirmation. One of my favorite quotes is in the book is, um, what you've done for others. Take what you've done for others and now do that for yourself. I was like, now wait a minute. That those make me sit back, because again, we've been taught to be those good little girls, right? Sugar spice, everything nice. Like we're supposed to do it and be there for everybody. But can you
Mhm.
do it for yourself? Right? Another quote in the book is, don't just fly, soar. Right? The idea is that you take these quotes and repeat them back to yourself. Affirm again those messages from your own lips to your own ears. you know Sometimes we just get comfortable flying. I'm
Yeah.
doing the thing, I'm doing the thing. Not when you can go higher, not when you have more to do. So we have to be able to encourage ourselves. So the whole idea is, at the end of this 21 days, you should be feeling yourself, okay?
Okay.
Feeling yourself like you have not before, and really taking time to pour back into you, because we give so much: home, work, organizations, church, community, whatever you're doing, we're pouring out. But this 21 day is like a vitamin that you take every day for 21 days, right? To pour back into you, to really help raise your own vibration. So now we can go out in the world and deal with other people, but we can't do that. They say you can't serve from an empty cup, right? So this is
Mm-mm.
the way to fill your cup up. And I promise you, you should be ready to do something at the end of that 21 days.
Okay. But it's so crazy because I always talk about how in 21 days you can unlock something once you continue to have it for that long.
Yes.
And it creates so much change in your life to do those things, especially when it comes to journaling. And it's so crazy. I've also unlocked a different form of journaling for myself.
Mhm.
Sometimes I like to hear myself talk. So it only started from me like podcasting.
Yeah.
So when I hear myself, I have a different perspective of what I'm saying. And I'd be like, wait a minute now, you got a point there. It's like it's like you listen to someone else, but you listen to yourself. So I
Yes.
started recording myself.
I love
Um
it.
and listening to myself, and I did it for like the similar to what you have, but I did it like with me actually talking, and I
Yeah,
went back and listened to it as though it was a podcast, and it gave me a different perspective, and it unlocked a lot. So
I
it's
love
really
that.
good that you have this, because it's amazing. People don't understand how much it'll help you so much, in the
Absolutely.
feelings you have behind it, the struggles you experience by writing it and actually facing something, girl, please. That's a
Yeah.
lot.
It, and you know what I love about it, and I love what you said about that 21 days, right? To unlock, right? To transform. And then also I wanted to, some of us are box checkers, right? Like you have to have everything checked off on the list. For me,
Me.
I wanted to give some grace to those of us that need our check marks. Because let's say you miss a couple days in a 30-day period, you still have time to complete the journal. Okay. I want to give us a grace period in there. But again, it said that it takes 21 days to form a new habit. So there's a lot of power in that 21. But also I want to give us a little grace. So I want to say, hey, you could complete this journal every month. You can go in and write a line. There's prompts in there, prompts off of the quote to get your thoughts going. But I love what you said about adding like an audio piece. Like you can write your thoughts and then also record them and just go back and just really love on self. You need to minister to yourself. We want to help so many people, but I need to help me. Like I need my own good stuff, pouring back on me because that's what's gonna help fuel me. Even when I prepared for this today, I was like, okay, I wasn't quite sure where the conversation was gonna go, but I affirmed myself and I said, listen, sis, because I call myself sis. I'm like, sis, we got this. So this is just a conversation with a good sis that I get to meet for the first time, but it's all good. That was my prep.
Mm-hmm.
That was my prep.
Mm-hmm.
And guess what? It's been just that.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, what role did faith play in your own love story and personal growth?
Man. So I was 23 when my mom transitioned. 23. She did leave me a home and some assets to get me, along the way, on my way, and I found myself at 23. I call myself an old teenager because I was not grown at all. Okay. But such a transformative time. I mean, again, oh my goodness. I was so grateful that my mom was who she was. So my father's always been in my life, been a part of my life. My parents were divorced many years before my mother passed, but I have a sister, but she lives in Columbus. She's older and we're not tight, we never have been. So it was really kind of like, all right, it's me. I had family, my aunt, my grandmothers, cousins, had people in my life, but it's something that happens when your mom is gone, And I wasn't necessarily walking with the Lord at that time, but I always knew who God was. I went to Catholic school. I had different types of religious experiences. Let me say that before I was 23. And even with that, I always ask myself again, here's that little Ebony again going like, who's right? Because the Catholics did it one way, and that was not what we did on Sundays, right? Having these different encounters with God, it really at an early age it led me to think, who's right? Because there's different ways and they all believe what they're saying. So I knew that the quest for me and God was a personal quest. And so in my 20s, I call those my party years. I made a lot of bad decisions in my 20s. Bad decisions, bad decisions, bad decisions. But I had a good time. All right. Okay.
Okay.
Those were my party years. Now looking back, I know I was grieving and I was self-medicating, right? So which kind of led me to my early 30s. I was another 10-year period since I got these 10 years in my life. So my party years were about 10 years. And when I finally was ready, one thing I learned from the Catholics is that you don't play with God. Okay.
No, you don't.
You don't say you in this thing if you ain't in it, right? So I was like, I'm not doing that. So in my early 30s is really when I was like, okay, I think I'm ready. So I stopped drinking, stopped getting high, all the things that I thought I was doing something, but I really wasn't, right? That party life, I put that behind me and I started my journey. And so I didn't think that I would never drink again or never smoke again. But as I started to really kind of surrender, and just say, okay, God, I think I'm ready for just me and you. That ultimately led to my abstinence period as well. But I kind of laid those things down one by one. And so my faith, when I really look back, I saw how God had his hand on me, even when I didn't want him to. Okay. When I was in my wild phase, and I wasn't too wild because I had a mortgage, you understand? But even in my so-called wild phase, there was a lot of, again, that evaluating and honesty. And I realized that a lot of the activity I was doing was fruitless and pointless, and that I was wasting this good life energy that God had put inside of me. So for me, it was, ooh, what am I doing with myself? Right? Like, my
Mhm.
family didn't get me this far. My mom didn't do all she did for me to just be out here being no party girl. Like this, I have more to
Yes.
do. So what I thought was like a temporary surrender with even wine drinking. Like I don't drink, and again, people, are you in recovery? No, I just don't drink. Like, can you leave me alone? Can I have some juice, please? You don't want no wine? I said no, thank you. So faith for me was about the surrender. And then once I did, I mean, I'm not I'm not bothered by a lot of things, right? A lot of trappings of the world because it was me and God. And so I could not have gone on that 10-year journey to marriage and abstinence without God. But just being anchored in who I am. And when I tell you I have strong faith, my faith is strong. Am I
Yes.
unshakable? I mean, life happens, right? But I
Yes.
also feel like by me going through like that heavy loss early on, it prepared me for a lot. We're still people, we're still human, we still live this experience. But I look at things differently. Even walking away from the job after 22 years, honey, that's a faith walk. And
Yes.
I like to say I had a 10-point plan that I was going to execute. I didn't. I didn't have one contract when I knew I was leaving. But guess what? Before I left, God had given me an opportunity. Actually, somebody handed me a contract, a good one, that they
Mm.
couldn't work anymore because they had moved on. And that really helped me to get these first couple of years, in
That's
addition to all the different opportunities that have come my way. I have not filled out one resume. I have
wow.
not one time. I have not sent one resume to anybody.
That's a
But
blessing.
I look at how God has built me, just through it all. So I say all that to say that I believe that you reap what you sow.
You
People
do.
say that as a curse sometimes. You're going to reap what you sow.
Yeah.
I take it as a blessing, honey, because I sow good, so I'm going to reap good. You understand? Because
Yes.
I believe in uh, God's law of reciprocity. I believe that when you do good, you receive good. I also believe that, again, as a light worker, I'm in all these different spaces. Even when I was on the job, even back in high school, I've always been a part of lifting up the light, right? Doing good, being active, being involved. It's important. So
It
for
is.
me, if faith is just like that common denominator, I know that through it all, it's me and God. And I stand on that. They say stand on business. That
Mhm.
God business is real to me.
And girl, yes.
And I
It
also
is.
realize in today's world that I can go into corporate spaces or, government spaces and talk about God all day and never say God. Because I could talk about the good, I could talk about the light, and it's all the same to me. So I believe really and truly my mission is to continue to spread that message in everything I do.
That is amazing. I'm so proud of you.
Oh,
I am. You
thank
know,
you.
it's just I feel like it's so amazing when people reach a certain space in life, peace,
Yeah.
knowing their worth, knowing they are at home at peace, it's
Mhm.
just it's needed, and I pray for everyone to even have that time to actually experience it. But people don't understand that time with yourself created you to who you are today.
Yes, ma'am. 100.
And And it's so important. And in a way, you're walking life now, helping others. I remember you told me that even though you had got married and everything, you still wanted to help others. You still wanted to have them understand, how did you get here?
Mhm.
And I feel like that's such a gift that you
Mhm.
have. And it's so needed for you to continue to put awareness out there, because you're doing great at it and you're so vibrant. You have this vibrant, beautiful personality, and it helps a person. It puts them in a better mood.
Mhm.
Sometimes you could be talking to someone and it's like they kind of make you feel worse, but it's like you bring so much light. It's so bright.
Yeah.
Sometimes you probably make others feel theirs is dim sometimes, but
Mm.
you don't intentionally do it. It's just the gift that God gave you.
Yeah.
And I want you to continue going and continue succeeding in this, because it's your calling.
Thank
God
you.
placed you in these positions for a reason.
100%. Thank you so much. That's so
You're
sweet.
welcome.
And again, like you said, I believe there are people out here that can zap your energy, and
Yeah.
that's something that's so important too. We were talking earlier about being an extrovert or introvert, and I think that's something that people don't understand about extroverted people. It's like we can be out here and be with the folks, but when I come home, honey, I have to regroup. You
Yes,
know, at
you
work,
do.
I was in charge of employee engagement. I did training and all kind of stuff through the different years. People are like, you're always so happy. I said, but when I'm not, you don't see me. Learning how to recharge your battery. One thing that I've done since the last couple years, and again, this is something I'm proud of myself for. I have taken a personal sabbatical. It's only been for a week. I plan to expand that over time, okay? But last year, I took a cruise by myself. Now, I've been on cruises, I've been on many cruises, but that
Uh-huh.
was the first time I did it by myself. When you talk about being proud of yourself, I was like, I'm doing it by myself. I've traveled with my friends, I traveled with my husband, but to go on this trip by myself, but it was so refreshing. Oh my goodness. Like to just do me, right? To turn down the obligations of the day to day. Again, thankful for a husband that's okay with that, right? And that's something else that blew women's mind. That's another podcast talking about the sabbatical. But it was so important for me just to stop and honor myself and say, you know what, you do a lot, you give a lot. Let's pour back into you intentionally. This year, I took another sabbatical in January again, but I went on a group trip with people I didn't really know.
Okay.
I knew the leader, but not really, and I still was able to pull away because I didn't go for the group dynamic, if you will, but I wanted to go on a trip. It was a little bit different, but still very good. Still that intentional time of rest, of unplugging. So much so, when we talk about, again, this faith thing, I planned on catching up on a couple workshops that I needed to watch the videos and stuff. I didn't even open my laptop until Thursday of this week long trip. How about my computer would not come on? I
What?
troubleshooted. They was like, it could be a power supply thing, could be this and that. And I was like, Lord, okay, are you telling me to not do it? Came home, plugged it in, it was fine. But it would not come on. Again, the faith thing, right? Just rest, daughter. You here for I had an agenda, but clearly that's not what I was supposed to do. But just
Sit
taking
your tail
those
down.
moments. Pardon?
Sit your tail down.
And I did. Okay. But again, just figuring this thing out. Like it doesn't have to look like anybody else's recipe. Like do what you need to do for you. But even just having that awareness that that's something I need. I would love to do it more than once a year. Okay, I'm working towards it. But for right now, and I call it a sabbatical, not a vacation, because it's an intentional time of rest for me. I'm not going to do all the vacation things per se. I'm going to rest, to power down, right? To focus on me. And it's just a beautiful thing. I recommend it to everybody. You hear me?
Mhm.
Everybody. If you can go a day, go a day. If you can do 2 days, do 2 days. Do what you need to do, but take some intentional time to unplug, to steal away. Time just for you.
Mm-hmm. So tell me, what's the message you love to give and leave for women who feel discouraged about love, relationships, and personal growth?
Love, relationships, and personal growth. My message would be this: personal growth comes first. You have to spend time with you. Date yourself, love yourself. Here's a tip: even inside your marriage, you still need to do it. I discovered that all the preparation I did before I got married is what allows me to continue to be happily married. My husband can't fulfill all my needs, okay? It's not his job to. I still go to lunch by myself. I'll go to the movies by myself. If there's something I want to do, I do it. Yes, we spend time together, but it's not his job to fill my cup. Right? So that personal development, always having a goal that you're working on. What is it that you want to do? You want to take a dance class? I took swimming lessons a couple years ago. Oh, wonderful. Things like, what's on your list? How can you be the best version of you? That's your job, right? And so then the relationship piece will come. It's not too late for you. It's not too late for you. You may have to expand your horizons of who you're looking for or who you want to be looking for you, but it's not too late for you. There's so many people still getting married in their 40s and their 50s, even 60s. Folks are marrying if you want that. So if that's your desire, find a safe group or safe people to share that with, because everybody does not deserve to hear your heart's desires, because people will yuck your yum, okay? People will put their stuff on your stuff and discourage you from what you want to do for you. That's not right. How is it? But when you start to love you and vibe with you and grow, and again, realize that you're that chick, oh, that's an energy that you give off. That confidence is the best perfume in the world. So you loving you, deciding that you are valuable, deciding that this is going to be your story, you making a determination about what you want for your life, and walking in that thing. Not just talking about it, but truly walking in it, developing yourself, being the best version of you. And I promise you, the rest of your life will unfold, but you have to be willing to put the time in. I won't say put the work in. I'll say put the effort in, put the energy in, put the time in, and get in the right spaces with the right people that will help encourage you along the way.
That is so true.
Yeah.
That is so true. So where can our listeners connect with you and learn more about your coaching and your books?
Absolutely. Our website is hilltasticcoaching.com. HILLTASTIC coaching, all one word, hilltasticcoaching.com. You can absolutely reach out via email on the website. Just hit me up, and I like to say too that I'm available, right? Not all the time, but I like to not only be available, but I'm accessible. So again, I'm not one of these folks that are hard to reach or hard to connect with. I would love to meet with you, talk with you. I believe that's part of our purpose here on this planet, is to encourage each other, to connect and help each other just go higher. So I'd love to hear from you.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for being on Life Her podcast. I really appreciate you a lot for being on my show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. And thank you everyone for tuning in to Life Her podcast. You are able to subscribe on YouTube and also listen to Life Her podcast on all major audio platforms. We appreciate you. Have a blessed one.
Welcome to Life Her podcast, the podcast that guides you from the 9-to-5 grind to the freedom of your own path. Discover how to conquer life's challenges while pursuing your passions with unwavering faith. Because being an entrepreneur is not easy. So let's get to it.